Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. There are no traffic jams along the Extra Mile when you're studying for your bar exam. And now, your host, Jackson Mummy, owner of the Celebration Bar Review.
Well, hey everybody, welcome to episode 148 of the Extra Mile podcast. This is your host, Jackson Mummy. I'm really glad to be with you today. Whether you're listening or watching, now you could be listening to this podcast, and that would be great. We're glad to have you use that format. But if you'd rather watch today's podcast, you can do that by going to celebrationbarreview.com/148. Again, celebrationbarreview.com/148. You can watch the entire podcast, including our interview today with a successful California bar taker. Yes, there is one. It has happened. In any event, we're glad to have you with us. Hope things are going well and that you had a good holiday weekend. Well, we're now, as this episode is being released, we are now really getting underway for the July 2017 bar for most people. And if you're taking that exam, you're probably starting to lock in and get ready. If you're still thinking about what to do or still searching for a course, I just want to let you know that while we had sold out our entire roster for the July 2017 exam, as often happens at this stage, there are a few people who decide to defer into the February 2018 exam, and that's no problem. We're glad to accommodate them. But the truth is that actually creates some openings in our course. So we have a very small number of openings for basic, personal, and premium mentored students. And if you want to know more about that, I invite you to just go to our website at celebrationbarreview.com, click on the ordering and pricing tabs, and you'll find out all the information you need there. So limited time, there's an opportunity to still get in for the July 2017 exam. Now, for those of you who are planning on taking the February or July 2018 exams, I want to invite you to attend a special live webinar. It's called How to Make the Next Bar Exam Your Last Bar Exam. This is going to be an opportunity for you to join me for a 90-minute masterclass. We're going to look at the new way to study and pass your bar exam. Now, we've taken literally thousands of people through this material. It's been extremely successful and valuable to them. There's no charge to you to participate. However, you do need to register in advance, and we've had big crowds in this webinar the last few weeks, so I encourage you to get your seat now. You can do that in one of a couple of ways. You can go to our website at celebrationbarreview.com. You'll see a button at the top there. Just click, and you can register that way. If you're watching today's podcast, you will find a button right here on the page, and you can register from there. Or if you prefer to text message your registration, you can do that by texting the phrase next bar exam. So next bar exam to the number 33444, and we'll get you set up there. So again, next bar exam, all one word, to the number 33444. And whatever method you use to register, we'll see you Thursday, June 1st at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Pacific time. Now, if that time or date doesn't work for you, we do have an on-demand version of the same material, and you can register for that just by going to our website and just scroll down beyond the button for the live version, and you'll see the on-demand version. Click there, and you can watch the same material at your convenience. So no matter how you do it, I hope you'll join me. We really take a deep dive into why people fail the exam, what they need to do to be able to pass, and to give you the important next steps that you have to take in order to be successful. So I hope that you'll make time out and join us for that. Well, in today's episode, we've got a really special interview. As I said, we had good success, actually, with our California bar takers, but that really runs counter to the tide because, as you may have heard, the Cal Bar had an overall pass rate of about 33% in the February 2017 exams. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking to a successful person who took that exam using our course. Her name is Rebecca O'Cray Murphy. She took the attorney's part of the exam, and she has a great story of the success that she had. Rebecca had tried to study for the previous exam on her own. She'd been successful taking other bar exams. She assumed it would work again. Didn't work. She failed in 2016, and then came to us for the first time in February 2017, took our personal mentored course, and she passed. And I think her story is really going to be useful, helpful, insightful, inspirational to many of you. And so I hope you'll stick around and listen to that interview, or if you'd like to see Rebecca actually in the interview, then check out our video page again at celebrationbarreview.com/148. Well, it's a great interview. I think you're going to really enjoy it. I don't want to keep you waiting any longer. So let's jump into our time with Rebecca O'Cray Murphy, a successful California bar taker. Well, hey everybody, welcome to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Takers, and we have a real treat today. We have a student who passed the California bar exam. I know, can you believe it? It's unbelievable. People actually passed the exam, and we've got a real live living specimen of one of them here. I want to welcome Rebecca O'Cray Murphy to the broadcast today. Hi, Rebecca, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Well, good. You're looking great. And I'm so excited to see you and to have you share your story with everybody. You passed the February 2017 California Attorney's Exam. And as you well know, the pass rate was 33% overall. So this was a brutally difficult, in fact, it's being called the worst Cal Bar results in a decade, actually maybe even a little longer than that. So you must be feeling great today.
Oh my gosh, I'm just like on cloud nine. It's so hard to believe, even though it's been over a week, but I'm just elated. It's just the best news I've had in such a long time.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, let's go back to the beginning, sort of, the beginning-ish, and talk a little bit about your journey to the California bar. Can you tell our audience a little bit about your background?
I went to school in the 90s to law school. So I graduated from law school in 96. I went to a school in Michigan and took the Michigan bar in November of 96 and passed the bar. And I practiced for a few years then. And then I relocated to Arizona. And so I took the bar in Arizona in 2004 and passed that bar exam. And I practiced for a few years, and then I got into higher education. And I was teaching and doing curriculum design from about 2009 until about 2016. And I took my husband relocated to California, so I had to kind of relocate as well. And so then I had to, it's like, do I take the bar? Do I not? And I said, well, I will. And I took the July bar and I was unsuccessful. And I got my results right before Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. And then I found Celebration Law Review.
Yeah. And when you took the exam the first time, how did you prepare for that first time going back into the first time at the California bar?
Well, I self-studied. So I basically went on the State Bar of California website and I downloaded the tests that they had in prior years. Mm-hmm. And then I downloaded the model answers and then I just went through and studied those. And, people told me, why don't you take a bar review class? And quite frankly, I had self-studied in Arizona, mm-hmm. and everyone told me, oh, you can do it. Family members don't understand. They kind of say, well, you've done it before. What's the big deal? And, it's been a long time. So yeah, it wasn't I came close, but close is not good enough.
Right. So then you found us. And you got started, and you had a relatively short period of time to study because results, as you say, came out around Thanksgiving. You're going to take the February exam. And were you working at this time as well?
I was working up until about right around there. I was teaching online classes, but then there was a change in California law, and so the company that I had worked for eliminated all California instructors. And so at that point in time, I was just focused. I was doing some work for an attorney locally, mm-hmm. but it wasn't regular employment.
Right. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, I hope, but you were also doing a significant amount of volunteer work. Is that correct, through your church?
Yes, I help with the teens, with the youth group, and then I started an organization. Well, I started within our church a group called Stephen Ministries. So right. we were meeting regularly. I went out to Florida for a couple of weeks for a training on that. I was interviewing people, picking a team, putting that program together.
Okay.
And then I'm on the PTA. I'm pretty involved in my kids' lives. I'm on the volleyball board for my son, and just different things like that.
Okay. And how old are your kids?
I have a 17-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 21-year-old.
Okay, so there you go, folks. It can be done. All right, so now 3 kids, 17 years old. Oh God, you're doing the church work, the Stevens Ministry volunteer work, which is I'm familiar with, and it's just incredible work. And you're studying for the bar, and you're sort of trying to live a life as you're going along. Let's talk a little bit about how you studied and prepared for the February test. Can you kind of describe what a study day looked like for you?
Well, I really tried to follow what you said in your approach, and so typically I would get up, I would go to the gym, and then I would come back and I would study like one section. So whatever that was, whether it was reading, whether it was watching a video, whether it was doing practice tests, whatever it was, typically I mapped it out at the beginning. I'm a pretty pragmatic person, so I kind of mapped it out, figured it out how many days I needed to do, how much prep time at the end, and did most of the time one per day.
Okay.
Now, there were a couple times where I felt really behind and I did 2. There were times that I did like essay questions and I was concerned that I had forgotten more than I remembered, so I did some extra problems. But I tried to stay on course with the one a day.
Okay. So you're following the study guide that we gave, and so that's
Yeah.
the reading and the lectures and the question practice. We're just doing a regular, traditional 3-hour read of each section, right?
Yes.
And then listening to a lecture or watching the lecture and then doing question practice. Now, you selected the personal mentoring option that we offered. Can you talk a little bit about why you did that rather than a basic course? I mean, you've gone from self-study, and there was a basic course that we offered that had basically all model answers built into the course, but no individual review. So why did you choose the personal mentoring?
I just needed that extra. I needed that one-on-one. I think a lot of times my confidence needed somebody to tell me that, yes, you're doing the right thing, or, hey, you need to go back and review this. I needed somebody to be honest with me and give me feedback, and that was great for this.
Okay. So during the course, you and I talked in video chats probably 15 or so times. That sound about right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you describe for our audience a little bit about what those conferences are like from your end? I mean, I know what they're like from mine, but why don't you tell the folks who are watching and listening what it's like to go through one of these conferences?
I would say at the beginning it was a little bit it was intimidating, and it was, but honestly, you are so authentic, and you got to the point where you said, okay, tell me what you did that was right, tell me what you did that was wrong. And sometimes I was right on with my personal critique, and sometimes you were like, no, that wasn't as bad as you thought it was. But there were a couple times, there was one time in particular where you said, I expected more from you, and you could have done better, and what happened here? And I needed to hear that, and I could trust you from that point, because then what you said later, I believed you, and it wasn't that I was kind of going, oh, he's sugarcoating it, or he's telling me something just so that I need to hear, just so that something that I want to hear.
Yeah. And we call that in the shorthand of our business, we call it a CTJ, or a come to Jackson talk. So it's, what can I say, folks? That's very kind of you to say that I'm authentic. That's certainly something I try for. But you were also pretty transparent with me in terms of really kind of letting down your guard about the frustrations and the anxieties that you felt. I remember that there was, I think, at least one call where you really sort of melted down. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And I'm bringing up the happy memories here.
Yes. So I took the attorney bar exam. So I wrote the day one and then the day three for the essays.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went in for the first day, and the advice is always don't listen to anyone, don't pay attention to anyone, all these other things. And I know these things. I had earplugs. I walked in. I didn't know anyone near me. I didn't make eye contact. I really was kind of keeping my head down. And I felt really good all day writing my responses. I felt like energized. I kind of looked at it like, oh, is this it? And I felt wonderful. And I left, and as I was walking out, one of my earplugs fell out, and I heard some people talking about one of the questions. And I started panicking, and I'm like, I don't remember that part. And all the way to my car, I was walking to my car, and then my drive from Ontario to my home, which was probably an hour and a half, I was reliving this whole thing, second guessing everything I had written down, and I couldn't sleep that night. I could not sleep. I was just absolutely felt that I had just ruined everything. So the next morning, I conferenced with Jackson, and I had a meltdown. And he said, wait a minute, did you finish the test? I said, yes, I finished the test. He said, did you write an answer to all the questions? I'm like, yes, I wrote an answer to all the questions. And he said, he asked me a few more things, and he said, based on this, what I've heard, this is kind of the question. Did you hit these things? And I said, yes. And he said, then don't worry about it. And I was, of course, really upset. And he told me that I needed to stop being a drama queen and kind of get over it. And if I didn't get over it, I would ruin the next day. And so I took that to heart, and I pulled myself together, mm-hmm. and I did everything in my power just to kind of like relax that evening. I started studying, and then I said, you know what, I don't need to study. I just need to calm down. And so that was what I focused my efforts on. And the next day I walked in and I wrote, and I felt like it was that I could do it. And I didn't listen to anyone. I covered my ears. I was humming so that I wouldn't hear any, outside noise. And it went well.
Yeah, so the moral of the story is don't laugh so hard that your earplugs fall out, because bad things will happen. And of course it all worked out. Well, I appreciate you sharing that story. Yeah, and you weren't a drama queen. It was just at that particular moment, it was sort of like, yeah, okay. I think we, the work that you were doing was good in practice. I knew you were capable of passing. And it was like, oh, please don't sabotage yourself here at the end, which can happen to people. So I think that's a really instructive, good story. I want to backtrack for a moment and talk a little bit about the essay writing. When you self-studied, you looked at the examiner's model answers and sort of pieced that together. And then we taught a different way of writing, correct? The FLA approach. Can you talk a little bit about that and what made that different and what it was like to learn that approach to writing?
I think that made the whole difference in the exam writing. The FLA, you look at the facts, you look at the different arguments, and then you make a conclusion. But when you're doing that, you're putting so much more substance in your responses opposed to filler. And when you go and write the bar exam, you go. I had to actually say, no, I'm not going to IRAC. And I had to write on my paper, FLA, because it's almost like muscle memory from law school where you start to get into that mode. But doing this, you're really looking at, there were a couple points, and I wasn't positive, but I'm like, you know what? I'm making both arguments, so it doesn't matter. And the answer, the conclusion didn't matter as much because you're putting in the different legal arguments from both sides. And that's what lawyers do. So it's much more effective, I believe.
Yeah, and certainly made a difference for you and your scores going from not passing to passing. And that was because you're on the attorney's exam, that was the exam for you, or the essays and the performance tests. So I think when people say there's only one way to write and it's IRAC, you're living proof that that's not true, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So you finish the exam, and then you've got the interminable wait in California for results, right? What was that period of time like for you after the exam and waiting for results day?
It was so stressful. And I tried to block out everything to not think about it. And you had a podcast where you were going through all the questions from the exam. I didn't listen to it. I really can feed off of other people, and I didn't want to start going through and rehashing all the questions, so I didn't listen to that. And I didn't go back and look up any answers or any information. I tried to completely, put it out of my mind. So I focused on a lot of volunteer work. I actually spent 3 weeks proctoring AP exams at the high school. And so the kids were like, "You don't understand." And I'm like, "No, I do understand. Trust me, I understand." And then I did some work for this attorney and, just kind of continued my life. But that time, even up into pressing the button to find out whether I passed or not, I mean, it's agonizing.
Yeah. And what was it like? Tell me a little bit about Friday night, 6 p.m. Pacific time. You go online. What happened?
Well, I 6 p.m. came, and my husband said, I said, "Oh, I don't know. I don't want to check. I want to check, but I don't want to check." And he said, "Well, do you want me to look for you?" And I said, "No, I don't want you to look for me." But he came and he sat by me, and I typed it in, and then I didn't press enter. I just sat there and waited, and I just needed to, kind of gather myself. And finally, I pressed enter, I closed my eyes, and I opened up, and oh my gosh, I was just so giddy. And so my husband, my son was home, I shared with them, and then, started calling people and letting my family and friends know. And it just the best. And it was Mother's Day weekend. So, that was wonderful. And the second part was that I was going lobbying in Sacramento on the following Monday, and I was meeting with a number of senators and legislators, and I thought, if I don't pass, this is not going to be good. Just the whole week was going to have a dampened spirit to it. So anyway, it ended up being a wonderful, joyous day, and still feeling great about it.
I think that's a pretty good Mother's Day, isn't it? What did your family have to say?
They were just thrilled. My husband said, "Well, I knew you would do it," because he had been watching me study and kind of stay out of things, not go to parties, not go to different things, because I was trying to keep that in focus. And my kids were excited for me. My parents may fly out for my swearing in ceremony. So,
Great.
I mean, everyone is just very excited for me.
Oh, that's awesome. That's wonderful. One of the things I loved about the way you studied for the bar was your ability to keep all the balls juggling and in the air. But also I want to come back to some of this volunteer work you did, because I thought it was particularly significant that you had a bigger focus. You saw a bigger world out there. Can you talk a little bit about the role that played in your studies and how you integrated that?
We put out, we get back tenfold.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's just, one of the things that really affected me was with the immigration change in policy in the United States. And I really wanted to go to the airport and to help some of the people who were being turned away. And at that point in time, I felt I couldn't. But now I can do things like that. But in terms of, I just think that it's important that we give back. We have certain gifts. We have talents, we have time, we have treasure, we have gifts, and we need to give those back in order to be in this society.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's rare. I mean, it's rare that lawyers are the heroes, isn't it? And so this is certainly one of those times when the rule of law is a place where we can make a significant difference. And so, regardless of one's politics, I just think that being part of the conversation, having a seat at the table, these are all benefits of being a member of the bar. And I thought that you did a lot while you were studying, and certainly now that you're becoming a member of the bar, there's more opportunities out there for you. And so I want to congratulate you and applaud that effort and encourage others along that way. We know that the results in California continue to go down. Pass rates go down. It's the toughest exam in the country by far. And so there are a lot of people probably who will watch and listen to this interview who are in a position where they've taken and failed the exam. What advice would you have for those individuals now based on your experience?
I think that there are a few things. One, I think it's really important that you are living a healthy life. And so, not going out and drinking, not doing things to your body because that are going to be unhealthy, so that, you make a priority to rest, make a priority to exercise, might make a priority to eat well. Also, I listen to your affirmations every day. And that was really important for me to really get my mind fixed on, I can do this after not succeeding the first time in California. I've always succeeded in everything I've tried. I'm a type A person, and I just think that hard work and perseverance and whatnot. And that was a real blow to me. And so just really kind of going, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can. It doesn't matter. That doesn't define me. So those affirmations were really key. But then just following your program. So doing the assignments, I did them. And towards the end, you said to take the subjects and make a list in order of what was the weakest in order to the strongest, and start studying the weaker ones and then moving down the list. And I was reviewing some of the ones that I was strong in. And you're like, why are you doing that? Review the ones that you're weaker in and don't worry about those. Even if you don't have a time to get back to it, it's okay. So take your advice, listen to those things. The other thing is, do everything you can to stay healthy. I ended up in the hospital. I had pneumonia, and that really set me back. And so you were telling me, rest. You need to rest. You need to, get better. And I was trying to just push through it because that's the kind of person I am. And so you're like, listen, I know this advice is counterintuitive, but listen to me. And so I tried to listen to what you said. So if you are telling people to do something, you have a reason behind that.
There you go, folks. I paid her nothing to say that. Well, listen, I'm so thrilled for you, Rebecca. This is such a great outcome, and I know how hard you worked, and I know how many things you had to do, and overcoming being sick, and all of the family obligations, and everything else going on, and a terribly difficult exam, and you did it. And I just could not be happier. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the effort and the work. I know you're going to do great things in California, but just in the world around you. And you're really the kind of person that we want to see at Celebration Bar Review become a member of the bar. So this was a big win. When you passed, there was a major cheer here in the office, on the Facebook group, everywhere. People were very, very excited about that. And so please accept our congratulations. look forward to hearing great things from you as you continue to go along. I know you're still part of our Facebook group and you offer suggestions and hope to our existing students, so thanks for doing that as well. Anything else you want to say to our audience before we wrap up here today?
Just if there's anybody who is struggling or they want to talk, if it's in California and they just need somebody to, have a cup of coffee or whatever, feel free to message me. I'd be happy to get together, and good luck to everybody. It can be done. Just keep trying, keep plugging away.
Absolutely. It's great advice, and we'll put the links into the show notes here as well. Well, that's our episode for today. Thanks again, Rebecca. Congratulations. It's great to have you with us. Thanks to all of you who watch and listen and participate in these conversations. They're really a lot of fun to do, and conversations like this one are just the best. So thanks so much. We'll say goodbye for now. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's our episode for today. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Rebecca as much as I did. It was really great to see and hear her story, and good luck and congratulations to her. Now, again, I just want to remind you that we've got our free upcoming masterclass this Thursday, June 1st, 3 p.m. Eastern, that's noon Pacific time, how to make the next bar exam your last bar exam. Make sure that you get registered either on this video page or by going to celebrationbarreview.com and clicking on the button to register there. If you'd like to find out more about the Extra Mile podcast or check out our previous episodes, you can do that on our webpage as well. There's a link at the top that says podcast. Just go there and you'll see all of the episodes along with the show notes from the very beginning. So be sure to check that out. There's lots of great interviews and lots of additional information. Well, I hope everybody has a good, successful study week. Hope that things are going well for all of you, and I look forward to coming back next week. We've got another terrific interview to share with you. We have a student who took the uniform bar exam in South Carolina after a number of failures in other jurisdictions. And we're going to talk about that strategy and what she did and all the tools that she used to be successful on her exam. So I hope you'll join us next week for that interview. And in the meantime, as always, we'll see you along the extra mile and on the pass list. Thanks for being with us today. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers at www.celebrationbarreview.com.